Even in your silence, I was speaking through your tears. You thought I was distant. You thought the silence meant I didn't care. But every moment you broke, I was right there. You didn't hear me because you were drowning in sorrow. But I was the stillness holding your breath when you couldn't breathe. I was the strength in your hands when they shook from fear. And when you asked, "Where are you, God?" I was the whisper that kept your heart beating. You see, my child, your pain never scared me. Your doubt didn't drive me away. I've seen the mess, the questions, the nights you wanted to give up. But I never left. Because I don't abandon the broken, I draw closer. And while the world gave you noise, I chose to speak in the quiet places. Through the ache, through the silence, through the tear that no one else saw. You didn't miss my voice. You were soaking in it all along. My beloved child, I know you've been wondering where I was. You've asked more than once why I let you go through so much pain. You've whispered prayers no one else heard, the ones where your voice cracked or didn't come out at all. But I heard every word, even the words you didn't know how to say. I saw the way your eyes stared at the ceiling in the dark. I saw the way your hands gripped the edge of the bed just trying to hold on. I watched the tears you quickly wiped away when someone walked into the room. You told yourself to be strong, but I never asked you to fake strength. I only asked you to stay close. You thought I was silent. You thought I'd turned my face away. But what you didn't know was that I leaned in closer than ever before, because your pain pulled me toward you, not away from you. I know how heavy it's been. I know how you carried questions no one could answer, not even yourself. You wanted to believe, but your heart was tired. You still said you trusted me. But deep down, a quiet voice asked, "Do you still care, God? Do you still see me at all?" Let me answer that now. Yes, I see you. I've always seen you. I never stopped loving you. Even when you doubted me, even when you questioned my timing, even when you walked away in frustration and said, "I just can't anymore." I never let go of you. And I'm not here to shame your struggle. I'm here to sit with you in it, to hold the broken places so gently, to remind you that this pain you've been carrying, it's not proof that I abandoned you. It's the evidence that I've been near all along, speaking, healing, weeping with you. You're not alone, my child. You never were. And now, I'm bringing you back, not to who you were before the pain, but to someone stronger, softer, deeper, and more aware of my love than ever before. Let's walk through this together. I never left you in your suffering. I need you to truly hear that, not just with your ears, but with your soul, because for too long you've carried a picture of me that pain distorted. You thought I disappeared when the storm began. You assumed I stepped back the moment your heart broke. But child, I am the God who leans closer when the world pulls away. I am not like people. I do not love you conditionally. I do not come and go with circumstances. My love is not seasonal. It does not fade when you fall apart. It wraps tighter around you when you do. When the ground beneath your feet crumbled, I was the one catching every piece. When everyone else seemed to move on from your pain, expecting you to be okay again, I lingered. I stayed, because I know grief has no timeline. I know pain doesn't follow rules. I know healing isn't neat or quick or easy, and I never expected you to rush through it. I was there the night you screamed into your pillow and asked me why. I was there when your body shook from sobs that wouldn't stop. I didn't turn away. I sat beside you. I held your heart in my hands like it was the most sacred thing, because it is. Your pain is sacred to me. It matters, because you matter. I didn't leave you when you doubted me. I didn't walk away when your faith cracked under pressure. I didn't love you less when you said, "I can't feel you, God." I knew you weren't rejecting me. You were reaching out the only way you knew how. Even your silence was a prayer. Even your exhaustion was a song of surrender. You see, love doesn't abandon. Love stays for the messy parts. And I am love. Perfect love. Patient love. The kind of love that kneels beside you when you can't stand on your own. The kind that waits until you're ready to speak again. Not forcing you, just staying present. I've been here. Through the sleepless nights. Through the anxious mornings. Through the numb afternoons where nothing made sense. through every unanswered question, every moment of confusion, every ache that words couldn't explain. And while the world demanded answers, I offered presence, because my presence is more powerful than any explanation. What you needed most wasn't a reason for your pain. What you needed was to not be alone in it. You were never alone. Do you remember that time when you felt like you couldn't go on, but somehow you did? That was me, lifting your soul, breathing hope into your lungs when you had none left. I was the peace that didn't make sense, the comfort you couldn't explain, the strength behind the small smile you gave, even when your heart was breaking. You thought you were holding yourself together, but it was me. I was the thread in the unraveling, the anchor in the storm, the whisper that said, "Keep going, I'm still here." And I know, sometimes you didn't want to keep going. Sometimes you wished the pain would just end. I saw that too. And I want you to know I wasn't angry. I wasn't shocked. I was moved. Moved with compassion. Moved with love so deep it broke my own heart to see yours shattered. I wept with you. Because I'm not a distant God. I'm a God who feels, who walks, who heals. And I haven't wasted a single drop of your suffering. Not one moment of your pain is lost to me. Every tear you cried was caught. Every sigh you released was recorded. Every time you said, "God, help me," help came, maybe not in the way you expected. But I moved. I protected. I sustained. You are here, still breathing, still standing. That's not a small thing. That's a miracle. Because what tried to destroy you didn't win. Because what tried to break you, I used to build something deeper inside you. Because even when it looked like nothing good could come from the pain, I was already writing redemption into the story. So no, I never left. Not even for a second. And I never will. You can question. You can cry. You can fall apart again and again. I will stay. Because you are mine. And I love you more than you can imagine. Your pain became my voice. I know that sounds impossible. Because pain to you felt like silence. It felt like emptiness, like I had stepped away and let the world crush you. But my beloved, what you called absence was actually me speaking in a language deeper than words. There are some things that only pain can open. Not because I enjoy your suffering, never, but because the human heart so often builds walls of control, of independence, of noise. And when the noise is gone, when everything else falls silent, that's when my voice is clearest. Not louder, just closer. And often disguised in what feels like nothingness. You asked me to speak to you. You begged to hear my voice, and I answered. Not with lightning, not with thunder, but through the ache in your chest, I whispered something eternal, something that bypassed your logic. I met you in the questions, in the quiet, in the raw place where you had nothing left to give. You thought pain meant I wasn't there. But child, pain didn't chase me away. It gave me room to speak to you, not outside of it, but right through it. Do you remember the day you couldn't even pray? Your lips were dry. Your soul was empty. You just sat there, tired, numb, staring into space. And somehow, peace showed up. It didn't fix everything, but it settled you for a moment. That was me. That was my voice, clothed in silence, saying, "I'm still here." Pain is not my weapon. It's not how I punish. But in a broken world where suffering touches every life, I redeem what the enemy tried to destroy, and I turn even agony into intimacy. I don't waste the wound. I fill it. I used your pain to soften what had grown hard, to slow you down when the world demanded more, to bring your attention back to the one who created your soul. I used your pain to realign your heart, not to shame you, but to free you. Because somewhere in the crushing you began to hear differently. Not through your ears, but your spirit. You stopped trying to impress me. You stopped pretending. And for the first time, you let me into the fragile, unfiltered places. That's where my voice echoes the loudest. Yes, your pain became my voice. When you said, "I don't know who I am anymore," I whispered, "You are mine." When you asked, "Why does it hurt this much?" I answered, "Because you love deeply, and I built you that way." When you said, "I can't keep going," I leaned in and breathed strength into your lungs. Do you see now? I was speaking all along. You were just learning to listen differently. Pain stripped away the things that distracted you. It humbled your soul, not in defeat, but in surrender. And in that surrender, you began to hear me, not as the God you feared, but as the Father who never stopped pursuing you, as the Savior who bled for your healing, as the friend who sat in your darkest room and never left. I didn't shout over your chaos. I spoke through it. I spoke through the memory that haunted you, through the loneliness that kept you up at night, through the quiet moments when no one checked in, no one noticed. But I did. I noticed. And I spoke. Even your tears were a conversation with me. Your sobs, the language of a wounded soul, reached my heart louder than any sermon. I felt every one. And in response, I wrapped you in something holy. Not always relief, but revelation. A deeper knowing. A divine closeness. And now, look at you. You still carry scars, I know. But you're listening. You're leaning in. You've become aware that my voice isn't always in the extraordinary. It's in the ordinary. It's in the whisper, in the pause, in the stillness after the breaking. You are beginning to recognize me in places you once feared. And that's transformation. That's healing. Your pain rewired your spiritual ears. You hear me now in the ache of others, in the stories of the broken, in the honesty of those who weep without shame. You're no longer trying to escape suffering. You're allowing it to shape you, because you now know I can be trusted in the middle of it. So yes, your pain became my voice, not because I needed you to hurt, but because I needed your heart to open. And now that it has, you're hearing me everywhere, in scripture, in worship, in nature, in moments of stillness that used to scare you. And I will keep speaking as long as you keep listening. This voice, my voice, is yours to carry, even through the next storm. Because now you know, pain doesn't mean I'm gone. It might just mean I'm speaking even louder. I whispered through your despair. I didn't shout. Not because I didn't care, but because your soul was too fragile for volume. In the depths of your despair, your heart was overwhelmed. You weren't looking for answers. You were just trying to survive. And in those places, I don't come crashing in. I come gently. I saw you curled up in bed, unable to move. I watched as your tears soaked the pillow and you tried to muffle your sobs, afraid someone might hear. But I heard, and I whispered, I'm here. You didn't hear it clearly. That's okay. Sometimes despair drowns out everything but the ache. But just because you didn't feel me doesn't mean I wasn't near. You see, I whisper when your world is breaking because I don't want to add more weight. I don't demand you to get up, to be strong, to pretend. I sit with you, silently, tenderly, and I let my presence speak louder than any word ever could. Despair is lonely, I know. It isolates you from others, even from yourself, but it never isolates you from me. When you said, I can't do this anymore, I didn't scold you. I didn't list all the reasons you should be grateful. I whispered, I know. Let me carry you. When you questioned your worth, when you called yourself broken, I leaned close and said, you are still mine. When you doubted whether you had anything left to offer, I reminded you, even in your lowest, I see beauty in you. There were moments you didn't even want to be here anymore. Yes, I saw those thoughts. And instead of turning away, I turned toward you. Because despair doesn't disqualify you from my love. It's where my love proves itself the most. You may think your silence was the end of our relationship, but it wasn't. It was just the beginning of a deeper one. Because I don't need your words to love you. I don't need your performance to stay. I simply want your presence, even if all you can do is breathe. In your despair, you believed things that weren't true. You thought you were forgotten. You thought you were too far gone. You thought the pain would never lift. But here you are, reading this, listening, which means you're still here, which means despair didn't win. And I want you to know, I never stopped speaking. I never stopped loving you. I whispered through the friends who checked in, even if you ignored their messages. I whispered through the song that played randomly, but spoke directly to your pain. I whispered through the breeze that kissed your skin in the middle of a heavy afternoon. I whispered through the scripture you didn't even mean to open, but it landed exactly where your heart needed it. I whispered through your tears. As they fell, they carried the weight of prayers you couldn't say out loud. You see, despair didn't block me. It revealed the depth of my commitment to you, because I don't just walk with you on the mountaintops. I walk with you through the valley, especially the nights when hope seemed like a memory and joy felt like a lie. And no, I didn't always take the pain away right away. Not because I enjoyed watching you suffer, never, but because I was doing something deeper. I was healing the part of you that didn't even know it was bleeding. I was restoring your identity beneath the ache. I was anchoring you in something stronger than feelings. In truth. Truth that says, you are loved, you are chosen, you are not alone. Even when despair told you, you have nothing left. I whispered, I'm not finished with you. Even when you said, this is too much. But I responded, then let me be enough. I didn't rush your healing. I didn't push you past your breaking point. I held you piece by piece, moment by moment, until you could begin to breathe again. And when you did, I whispered, that's it. One breath at a time. I'm still here. You see, my whispers were never weak. They were intentional. They were the breath that sustained you. They were the light that gently cracked through the shadows. They were the proof that even in your lowest valley, you are still worth speaking to. And now that the despair has started to lift, even just a little, I want you to know the same whisper that comforted you in the darkness will now guide you in the light. You haven't lost me. You've learned to recognize me. So don't fear the silence. Don't panic when emotions swirl or when thoughts grow heavy. Remember what you've already lived through. Remember who carried you through it. Remember who carried you through it. That was me, and I will keep whispering as long as you keep breathing, because I love you, and my love never shouts over your pain. It whispers through it, again and again, until despair gives way to hope. What the enemy meant for harm, I turned for healing. You may not see it all yet. You may still feel the sting. The scars are still fresh. The memories still burn. But I want you to know, from the very first moment the enemy set his sights on you, I already had a plan to redeem what he meant to destroy. I saw it coming. Long before you did, I saw the betrayal. I saw the heartbreak. I saw the loneliness, the panic, the spiral, and I didn't stop loving you for 1 second. I didn't author the pain, but I authored the healing. I didn't create the storm, but I commanded peace in the middle of it. I didn't allow the wound to break you. I allowed it to open a door. Because, my child, I'm not a passive God. I do not sit back when evil strikes. I rise, I restore, and I rewrite the narrative that the enemy tried to write over your life. He thought the abuse would silence you. He thought the loss would paralyze your faith. He thought the disappointment would make you bitter. He thought if he could just push you hard enough, you'd give up. But here you are, still breathing, still reaching, still healing. And that, my child, is proof that I've been at work in ways you couldn't yet see. You may not have felt strong, but healing doesn't always look like strength. Sometimes healing looks like weeping and getting back up. Sometimes it looks like praying while doubting. Sometimes it looks like breathing through the pain and choosing not to give up. You did that with me, because I was taking every broken piece the enemy threw at you, and I was forging something sacred out of it. What he meant for shame, I'm turning into testimony. What he meant for guilt, I'm transforming into grace. What he meant for silence, I'm turning into your voice. What he meant for isolation, I'm rebuilding into deeper connection with me and with others. He wanted you to live in fear, but I'm raising up courage in you. He wanted you to believe you were too far gone, but I've already declared, this one is mine. He wanted to break your identity, but I've sealed you with my love. Nothing the enemy formed against you has the final word. I do, and I say you're not damaged. You're being refined. You're not forgotten. You're being seen more clearly than ever. You're not ruined. You're being rebuilt into something stronger, softer, more beautiful. The enemy wanted to use your past to lock you in. But I'm using your past to unlock freedom, not just for you, but for others, because healing isn't just for your comfort. It's for your calling. There's purpose in the pain, even when you can't trace it yet, even when the wounds still feel raw. Trust me, I waste nothing. What you walked through wasn't punishment. It was a battlefield, and though it hurt, though it bled, you didn't lose. You survived. And more than that, you're healing, because healing is more than relief. Healing is redemption. It's me taking what was meant to crush you and building a foundation under your feet. It's me reaching into your story, not to erase it, but to reclaim it, to make it holy. Some of your deepest wisdom will come from this. Some of your most powerful compassion will rise from the ashes. Some of your greatest authority will be born in the very place where you once felt powerless. This is what I do. I take what was meant for evil, and I turn it. I twist the narrative. I reverse the enemy's intention. I insert light into the cracks. I plant joy in the soil of grief. I water hope with the tears you thought were wasted. The enemy thought if he could destroy your heart, he'd end your purpose. But what he didn't know was that your heart, even broken, is where I dwell. And when I dwell in a heart, there is no darkness I cannot overcome. So I need you to believe this. Nothing you've been through has been in vain. Not the seasons of silence. Not the nights of despair. Not the moments you felt abandoned. Because in those moments, I was doing invisible work. I was reweaving your soul, rewriting your story, and resurrecting the parts of you that once felt dead. The enemy lost the moment you turned to me in your pain. Even in a whisper, even in anger, even in exhaustion, because that whisper gave me permission to move, and I have moved. You're not who you were before the pain. You're becoming who I always saw in you, someone stronger, more sensitive, more surrendered, more deeply rooted in me. The road to healing isn't quick, but it's sacred, and every step you take, I take with you. So don't fear what happened. Don't let the memory define you. Let me define you. By my love, by my presence, by the truth that says, you were not ruined, you were redeemed. And as you continue healing, I'll keep showing you what the enemy meant for harm, I've already turned for healing. You didn't walk through it for nothing. I need you to hear that, not just with your ears, but deep inside your soul. Because I know there are days you look back and wonder, was it worth it? Did the pain have a purpose? Or was it just suffering? Let me answer you now. You didn't walk through it for nothing. Not one moment of your anguish was wasted. Not one tear was in vain. Not one cry into the dark went unnoticed. I was there for all of it, and I've been weaving it into something eternal. You see, your pain is not your identity, but it is a part of your story. And stories are powerful when placed in my hands. I don't erase your past to heal you. I redeem it. I breathe into it. I give it meaning beyond what you can see now. I know it doesn't feel beautiful yet. I know it still aches. I know there are memories you avoid, moments you wish you could delete. But if you could only see what I'm building with the ashes, you'd weep, not just from pain, but from wonder. Because what you walked through didn't just change you, it deepened you. It made room in your heart for things you didn't even know you needed. Compassion, tenderness, humility, a hunger for my voice, a deeper love for others who hurt the way you've hurt. You now carry an authority that doesn't come from a sermon, but from survival. from endurance, from walking through hell and still clinging to me, even if by a thread. You didn't walk through it for nothing. You walked through it to discover a God who doesn't just exist in blessings, but in brokenness. You met me in the fire. You found me in the flood. And because of that, no one can take that from you. I know the enemy tried to convince you it was meaningless. That all you got out of it was trauma. That all you're left with is damage. But I am the God who turns trauma into testimony, who turns damage into destiny, who turns wreckage into redemption. You will speak to others who feel what you once felt, and they will hear you, not because your words are perfect, but because your wounds are real. They will see in you a light that doesn't deny pain, but survives it. That walks through it, that rises from it. Your scars will be sacred. Not something to hide, but something to share. Because in your scars, others will see my fingerprints. They'll see proof that healing is possible, that hope can be reborn. And I know you still carry questions. You may not understand why certain things happened, why it had to be so hard, why people walked away, why doors closed, why the breakthrough took so long. But one day, either in this life or the next, you'll look back and see how every thread was woven. You'll see how I used the detours to protect you, how I used the delays to prepare you, how I used the heartbreaks to anchor you in me. Because I'm not just trying to make your life better. I'm making you deeper, richer, more resilient, more radiant with my glory. You didn't walk through it for nothing. You walked through it so I could show you what I can do with brokenness, so that when others say, it's too late for me, you can say, no, I've been there, and he's not done. You're not a victim of life. You're a vessel of grace. You're not just someone who barely survived. You're someone being rebuilt with purpose. Every crack is being filled with gold. Every loss is being exchanged for something eternal. Every chapter is being rewritten with my love. So hold on, keep walking, keep trusting, because one day what hurt you will become the very thing that heals others. What broke you will be the platform from which you speak life. What nearly ended you will be the place where my glory shines the brightest. And you'll know, without a doubt, you didn't walk through it for nothing. So now, take a breath, child. Not the kind that just fills your lungs, but the kind that lets your soul rest. Because you've walked through so much, you've carried questions that don't have easy answers. You've endured nights that felt longer than life itself. But you made it here, not by chance, not by accident, but by grace. You see, I was never trying to rush you to the finish line. I wasn't counting your progress. I was walking beside you the entire way, whispering when the noise was loud, holding you when no one else knew how. And now, with every step you take forward, you're walking not in weakness, but in wonder. I'm still speaking, not in shouts, but in steady, gentle waves. I'm speaking through the calm after the storm, through the quiet moments when you finally let your shoulders fall and your tears flow. That's where I'll meet you again and again and again. Let me be the voice you turn to, not just when you're broken, but even as you heal. Let me remind you again and again that none of this was wasted. That what felt like endings were just holy beginnings, that even now, in the silence, I'm still here. If these words touched something inside you, if you felt like I was speaking directly to your soul, tell me, not because I need the reply, but because something sacred happens when you say, yes, Lord, I hear you. Leave a comment, whisper a prayer, sit in stillness, and if you're ready for more healing, more truth, more of me, I've already prepared the next message. Just for you, because this isn't the end. It's only the beginning.